Wow, using a fusion, your dick is tiny! Fucking hell, dude.
5 years. Later, 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 6 years. Later, 6 years. Later, 6 years. Later, 7 years. Later, 7 years. Later, 7 years. Later, 7 years. Later, 8 years. Later, 8 years. Later, 8 years. Later, 8. Okay, bro. What the hell? Bud, hello. God damn, bro. 9 years later. Okay, is it what the about fucking damn time, bro? Bro, like, I was here for 5 damn years. Like, what the hell, my nigga?
Show your partner your devotion. Finish this. Listen.
Let's go! I got the guy with the rocket. Oh!
He kept on fucking screaming over and over again. That kept on.
Yeah.
I told you, I know this, I don't like
Shoot the ants! I can get.
Imagine watching TikTok. Yeah. Well, goodbye.
I must once again ask you to venture into the dark. Move quickly, but carefully, Guardian.
Yo, I went underneath the map. Team 2, mercy, go, man!
Oh, Jesus.
You've taken everything. First place
Oh
goes to
my god, dude, that thing. What the I got someone else.
Man number karma. Man number karma. You dig a bull here.
OG.
And we must stick the boat. Dig a bull here to take us out. And we must make sure that they are gone. Hyper Overlord, welcome to the arena.
He's 983.
He's 983 and he's here to dominate the game. Getting the kills to pay them bills.
Whoa, what the fuck? What the?
Hey, can I go to the bathroom real quick, guy?
Pay people to do your raid, Joe. Hit me out.
He shot his back. I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah, that joke about the Templar was too funny, dude. You got me crying. I mean, why don't you have sex with a Templar, bro? Because he fucking gives you harpies, bro. What the fuck?
Yeah,
that's too funny.
Nope, I'm already here.
Zone A lost. Your advantage grows. Stay strong. 3 opponents.